live on IG. If you're in here and you just joined, let me know if I'm upside down, please, because I think I'm upside down. I am upside down. I knew it. I knew it. I think I see Kitty in here right now telling me that I'm upside down. So let's go ahead and get started. If you're on Facebook, I'm going to fix being upside down in a second on Instagram. But if you're on Facebook, we are now live. And oh, hold on. I'm upside down. Hold on. I might have to leave and come back. Hold on. I'm going to have to leave and come back, y'all. Come back on in 8 seconds. Sorry that I'm this person.
I love you so big.
I'm sorry that I'm this person and none of my electronics work. I wasn't sure if it was going to let me do that right side up or upside down, but now I'm going to try to see. Maybe this will work. And if not, then, oh shit, it's letting, oh no, it's
not.
If you could see what just happened, you would be laughing hysterically with me right now. You would be like, oh, that's such a sad moment. It gave me like one moment of like, it's working. And then it was like, no, it's not working. It crashed. So we're going to get on because it's working right now. Just like in this moment, it's working. So I'm going to get on and we'll see how long it lasts. And if something happens, then I'll do what I just did. I'll get off and I will do this again.
Okay. On the Instagrams?
Yes, I'm on the Instagram. Sorry. Okay. That's what I meant. Facebook, of course, has no issues. No issues here. Hello, all of Facebook, who is always, subject to our experiments and our trial and error. Yay! Okay, so let's see if we can make this happen. Now I'm right side up. Yes.
Yay.
Now I am right side up.
Yay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We are here. In both places, we are on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. We are on IG. Hello, IG. We are here with the kitty ears and with all of the love. And so we're here today as Conscious Coven, y'all, which a lot of people in this space usually don't see me in that space. So welcome to the craziness at Conscious Coven.
The funness
and the funness. The funness that is Conscious Coven. That's what I love that. The funness that is Conscious Coven. And so this is Kitty McSparkles, which if you don't already know Kitty from my random posts or always bragging about her in general, she is light of my life, BFF, business partner extraordinaire, like just insane platonic life partner that I could always ask for. So
you're the other half of my brain and the other half of my being.
This is my kitty. Like we literally I feel like and if you think that I'm like exaggerating, this is the person who gets like the brunt of every thought that pops into my head, like as I wake up every single morning, like who's not even like the first person who outside of my bed, like gets like calls and like texts from me of like, I just had this thought. Like all of my revelations usually come through the filter of Kitty. So it's only natural that we would have this discussion here together today. But also I want for people in the kink space who don't know you as well, or, as much as maybe they know me in the vanilla space or they know us together in the vanilla space as Conscious Coven. I just want you to be able to tell our lovely audience a little bit about you and what you do and all of your loveliness, and also a little bit about Conscious Coven if you would like as well.
Yeah, yes. So I'm Kitty, Kitty McSparkles, Kitty Nasty, and yes,
I put that same thing in my story when I was promoting this like an hour ago. So it's just I just love you. I love you.
Yes, if you can't tell, I'm an avid Janet fan. Yeah, I am hailing from Nashville, Tennessee, which by trade, by life, by all of the things, I tend to lean toward working with crystals and working with cards, sound healing with Scout, and other than that, I'm just what they like to say, a pole slut. Like I love being on the pole. I love floor fucking. I love all sorts of floor movement and just really enjoying engaging in my sensuality. And in the midst of all of that, I'm also like, yes, I see you, Leo, National House. It's also the first day of Leo season, so I'm very happy about that.
It's official. It's official. And also I know that all of you in this kink space know my lovely Sage darling partner, and all of Sage's amazing Leo wisdom, constantly bringing it to the masses. But I need everyone to quite understand here that when I say that everyone in my life is Leos, like when I say that everyone who I love deeply in my soul is a motherfucking Leo, like
turn the corner, it's like
holy shit. Like it's not just Sage, it's also like Kevin is also a Leo, and then Kayla is also a Leo. So
and Kevin and I have the same birthday.
Yeah,
too.
So and Kitty and my partner have the same fucking birthday. So like it's literally every year. It's just, I'm like, and it also reminds me why I love these people, like why I love Leos. It is the perfect complement to my personality. Like Leos are a perfect complement to every part of my personality, every part of me that likes to just like shrink into the corner and like not be seen. Leos are like, yes, I will take up all that space. I will take up all that space. And I'm like, yes, take them all, take it all, take all the space. And then I'll just be the person that's like in the corner, like cheering everybody on, like in the corner, like, yes, I'm that person. And then Leos have no problem. And you and Sage are just amazing at it. Just like coming into the space, just being like, hello, I am here. I am here. Everybody know. Yes. And I just love that shit. I love that energy. It's so inspiring. And you are an amazing pole. You're an amazing pole slut and pole teacher, by the way. Kitty teaches at Minx and Muse, which is that really cool studio that I post about very often in Austin.
So come pole with me. Come pole with me.
Teaches pole virgins. So if you are a pole virgin, then this is the class for you if you are local to Austin or around Austin or planning on visiting Austin. So
I will turn you into a pole slut and you will love it. Come and play with me.
She definitely will. She's the reason why I had like zero thought to ever have a pole. And now I'm like, fuck yeah, get a pole. Where's it going to my house? Where's it going to my room? Where's it going? I'm getting a pole. I had zero interest. I was like, no, thanks. And then I'm like, oh no, I gotta be like, then I see Kitty on the pole. Like I literally watch Kitty's pole performance, which like, if I have permission, I will uplift from Kitty's possession and post on my IGTV because it's fucking amazing. Her last burlesque pole performance. And I was like, oh bitch, I gotta do this. Like you gotta teach me to be like this amazing fucking pole performance, which by the way, can you just tell them about it for a little bit? Can you just tell them about your theme and like about how you came up with this idea? I just need people to know the magic.
Yes. And then I'll also like be sure to share a little bit about
the whole point.
Okay, it's about Conscious Coven too. But yes, so my lovely, wonderful, also Leo roommate runs a show here in Austin called Boner Bazaar. So if you guys are ever in town while it's happening, I highly suggest you go. An amazing show. And we did a Stanley Kubrick themed show called A Clockwork Orgy. And so I picked the one like Stanley Kubrick film that was kind of not a Stanley Kubrick film. So I did Artificial Intelligence. I believe was the one with Haley Joel Osment. So I did a mash up of two different songs as a robot having a very wonderfully sensual experience, and it was very fun.
Very good. And when she says that she was a robot, I need you to understand how amazing that was, because it went from this really fucking cool like mechanical like robot movement to then her like effortlessly sliding into this like sensual, like slinky, very like, you know, just gorgeously flowy movement. And I'm just like, bitch, you are slaying it out here. Like I died. And she made the mistake of showing me in public. So I'm literally this. So just picture me in the middle of a parking lot in Texas. It's like 100 degrees. I'm sweating. Okay. And she's like, hold on. Just like, let me just show you this video. And I'm like, okay. And then I like look on this phone and it's literally just me screaming at this tiny screen on this phone, like in the middle of the parking lot, while people are like looking around, like, is she okay? What's going on? And I'm just like, yes, like to this, like just screaming at this phone, full blast, like, yes, bitch. And she's like right next to me, and I'm still just like screaming at the top of my lungs, like running around and getting all fucking hype and shit. And I was just like all about it. Like this girl can slay an audience with this pole like no other. So
Thank you.
First 14 minutes of the Tension with Intention was literally just us taking a moment and recognizing.
I'm sorry. I've been waiting all year for Leo season, so I'm just gonna I'm eating it up right now.
I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you. I'm serving it to you. I'm serving it to you right here. Right here. Serving you all of the Leo love. All of the Leo love.
Yeah.
But yes, let me hand the mic over to you. But I couldn't let you pass that by because I know you'd be all like modest with it. You'd be like, so I just did this really interesting conceptual. And I'm like, hold on. Let me tell everyone how badass this shit was so that they get the proper painting in their minds.
It was great. I will just say, if you ever don't think that Adele and a Bill Withers Ain't No Sunshine kind of dubsteppy remix won't go together, they go together.
And if you're wondering about that remix, it's on my fucking yoga playlist because I remember the day that you came into my yoga class and you were like,
I'm dancing to this.
Yeah, you were like, what song is this? I think I'm dancing to this song. And I was like, I can't imagine this, but okay. And then I watched it and I was like, oh yes, flawless. Your musicality is like on point.
I appreciate you so much. So now 15 minutes in.
Couldn't help it.
Yes, we're doing great. I love it. 15 minutes in. Conscious Coven is our like love project of wonderful witchery and sensuality and healing through movement and really just owning your own sense of magic. It's been geez. I'm sorry, I get so excited. I'm just like, it's just been a whole process. It's been a whole it's literally been a birth. Of just like really engaging in magic as a vehicle, using these different tools of tarot work and movement and meditation and sound healing as an avenue for healing for women of color. It's just like, it's just like, it's been such a giving experience. Like I have received so much in doing it, and just like also being able to do it with you. I just need to say, I know like it's not a private space, but I'm totally doting on you. Like I'm so hyped that I get to do this with you.
Same. I feel like we have really, really, really good facilitating energy together. And by the way, even when you were like, we're doing great, I'm like, I need everybody else to understand the code that like, this is like what Kitty says to me whenever we teach together, because what ends up happening is, and I do really feel like a very magic, like connected to source, because we are trained under the same people. We very much received we have very similar somatic histories, dance history, kind of similar, but you have more dance history than me, I would say. And and I feel like we speak and we facilitate space in a very similar way, also very different, but very similar. And when we facilitate together, it is a sort of, it's like one voice, one heart, one rhythm that we both like become. So it really, I really feel like we merge into one another, and we're both just like two different conduits for the same message, that like we can just jam off of each other for so long. And then all of a sudden, like me being the Virgo that I am, I'm like, what time is it? How much time have we taken up? Because I'm that person when we're planning class, I'm like, how long is this going to take? Let's plan the class in chunks. This should be the first 20 minutes. This should be the first 30 minutes. And then like, you know, so Kitty's always like that person that's always like, we're doing great. We're doing fine. We're doing great.
Can I also ask a question? So how does this like triple Virgo-ness translate into your age play?
Oh God. Yeah. Thank you for bringing me back onto topic.
I don't think I've actually ever asked you this.
I mean, probably in the fact that like, it's very difficult to obtain for me. Like, I think that's a huge part of it for me. And, that's a loaded motherfucking question. But on the surface, I feel like my triple Virgo mentality, which, you know, if you know anything about Virgos, and even if you Google it really quick on another tab, what I mean by triple Virgo in Vedic astrology is that unlike Western astrology, which is dependent on what month you're born in, Vedic astrology, your signs can change depending on the minute that you're born. So they work off of a different system in which they measure and quantify and qualify the planets. That's a whole other conversation for later. But in Vedic astrology, all three of my signs are Virgo. And in Western astrology, all three of my signs are Libra. And I think that really I identify as a Virgo. But I think that plays into my age play. I am 100% a fucking Virgo. Like I'm Libra too for sure. Like I have Mercury all up in here, but like I am a Virgo. And I think that plays into my age play specifically because of my lack of willingness to allow myself to give up control. And not so much with me being able to like regress into like a role-playing situation of a certain age, but also with the lack of, and this is also like goes into the attachment theory issues, is like the lack of confidence that anyone's actually going to take care of me. And that has zero to do with any of like my partners in real life in adulthood. Like that has zero to do with any of them. Even like my past partners, ex-partners, like that has very little to do with any of them or their personalities. It has everything to do with just my attachment theory that was developed in the first like 2 or 3 years of my life, which it is for all of us. So, but I'm curious as to how do you think your chart in general, do you think played, and I'm curious about your age play in general. So as someone who doesn't consider themselves someone who rolls all the way, like rolls deep in the kink realm, I'm curious as to your definition of age play and how it's out in your life in general, first and foremost.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting because I was not introduced to any sort of age play through any kink exposure, really. I work with kids a lot, and so I've always like just enjoyed being very childlike and just really getting to, I don't know, just be purely joyous and carefree, I guess. Like I was like looking for the word. And for me, what really came up is I used to joke with people all the time and say, you know, well, you know, I'm really like 5 years old, really like 5 or 6 years old. And for me, I feel like my journey with age play has really come out in like my relationship with my fiance, of just noticing that like I am damn near 30, and yes, I throw temper tantrums, and I don't give a fuck. I really care. Okay. This is how I am. But having someone who's been able to like be there with me and be able to redirect, and not necessarily putting the pressure on her to like parent me, but like to help me reparent myself by just expressing in this way that I feel like as in those young ages that I feel like I kind of stay in play in, I didn't have that same freedom to. It's been really healing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. That's really amazing. And yes, I will definitely attest to that. I feel like that's very nice to see as well. It's very nice for me to see that. As like another Black woman, is just like, it's really nice to see that like you live in a space. And I think also, let me just be honest for a second, as much as I shit on Austin, I will also just come out and say, I think a part of this is also able to be played out in such a fruitful way because of where we live, because we do live in a very weird space where we expect everyone to be weird. And so what I mean by that is that like Kitty walking around in regular with kitten ears on and a full length tail is like the norm. Like I need everyone to understand, like when we walk around the city and we're like working together, like it's the norm. Like nobody's weird about it. Nobody has ever made a comment. The only comments I've ever heard, like when you've been around me, is people just either being like, oh my God, where did you get that? Or people just be like, people immediately trying to figure out where you got it from, or being like, I had one and it wasn't that long before. Or we end up in these like tumbling conversations with people where we slowly end up finding out how kinky they are. And then it's like, oh, well, we didn't ask for any of that information, but thank you. And it's the most amazing response that you get from people.
Yes, it's actually really fun because my friend, the Kinky engineer, hi, Greg. I don't know if he's still on, but I met him at Burning Man, which was the first time that I ever like spent a full like 7 days walking around in my tail, and then it felt so weird to like come back and like have it not be like an extension of my being. So then I ordered another one. Amazon, guys, just like everyone needs one. Like I'm not gonna be stingy. Amazon has very large, like luscious, like pamper tails and free.
Yeah, I've never actually seen one like yours before, but I'm sure they exist. I don't think I was deep enough in that where I've never seen one as like luscious and like long with like the bouncy, like it looks real. It looks real to me.
It's so good. But it was really nice to like have the ability to really embody that. And now I came back and it's like, yeah, I'm just this little black kitty, and it's just the way.
Just a little black kitty. I love that. And I love seeing that play out in your relationship too. And like being able to be in that space and like, it's my thing to go to today. Usually when I repeat terms like that, it's usually when I'm fighting off a headache. Like I will keep repeating terms or repeating words when I'm speaking or facilitating a space. And I realize it's like my first cue of knowing that a headache is coming or like at bay. You know what I mean? It's like my brain short circuits and it's like, this is all the available vocabulary that is there today for you because you have not treated us nicely. It's like my body just being like, fuck off. This is what you get because you have not fueled us correctly. But no. But it's just, I'm analyzing myself as we're having this conversation. But I think that specifically with like the age play conversation and the conversation we were having last week when we were supposed to do this live, on the vanilla side, we were having the conversation of adultification of like young people, especially young people of color, specifically Black women. And if you haven't seen that little piece of, Georgia Law, I think is who did the research. If you haven't seen that little piece, it's on my vanilla Instagram, which if you don't follow is Scout Wild Awake. You can find it wherever. I don't know. Type in Scout Wild Awake. I don't know. Sorry, y'all. My brain is like half off. You can find it somewhere on the interwebs.
Facebook, internet.
But you can find it on the IGTV. Whatever. And it's like a 4-minute long video about what adultification is. And understanding adultification bias and how that really affects people as they grow up and how it affects them in their trauma space and how it also affects their own, reflection of how they're allowed to be children, how they're allowed to fulfill their own childhood, how, what space is actually available. Oh, I think we lost you on IG.
I think you're coming back.
You want to come out on IG and come back in?
Me? Yeah.
You're frozen. I don't know if IG can still, IG, y'all can still hear me, I think.
Okay. I think I quickly.
We had an entire conversation around how adultification bias really feeds into the ongoing cycle and repetitive notion that Black girls, really specifically Black girls, Black like assigned females at birth, and Black children who express in more of, I guess, like a traditionally feminine gendered way, have a lack of childhood. And honestly, I believe it is. I believe that that's true for all Black children. But I specifically also want to make specific space to talk about little Black girls, because I was a little Black girl. And that was definitely my experience in the space of being young, in the space of being small, in the space of being, in the space that I would be reverting to in these moments of doing age play, of engaging in age play. And I think that it's definitely a part of the conversation that I didn't realize was a part of it. I didn't realize this was a conversation, if I'm being honest about my experiences now. I didn't know this was a conversation. I'm going to be honest with all of you. I just knew that I was attracted to age play because I didn't really have a childhood. So I was like, yes. Like, I just saw it. I came into the kink space. I saw it and I was like, yes. Not so much of like the little space, but more of the middle space. I was like, absolutely. Yes. Resonates with me. And I felt liberation in going back and getting to express those ages specifically, because those were the ages where I felt like a lot of my growing up happened. So it was nice the idea was nice to go back and like be in those spaces. But it didn't work out for me at first. It was a bumpy ride at first because of something I didn't foresee. And that's something that I didn't foresee is that I was always expecting, ancestral trauma, my own personal trauma with a big T, like I was very much expecting all my own shit. Okay. Like I was expecting that to be on the doorstep, but I didn't realize that I was also dealing with a lot of adultification bias shit. that was going to be front and center of like, I wasn't ready. Okay. And people who were around me at this time know how unready I was, because, you know, Kitty is also one of those people who got all of those millions of messages from me, like, this sucks and I hate it. And the reason why, you know, I had that, and I really didn't even have the words. I didn't even have the vocabulary or the perception to be able to explain this like 6 months ago, because this wasn't that long ago. But now I feel like I do. And that's something that's recently changed, where I feel that my roadblock was really the fact that I felt like I'm okay role playing someone of a different age, because that's what I consider it as. It's not role play for everybody, but for me, I felt like I'm okay role playing and getting into, you know, my character that I develop as who I am as an age player in a middle. I'm okay with that. But my issue is that I have trouble developing that character because all of the examples I see, in my personal opinion, come across to me as people age playing little white children. And so when we go back to the space of like, but why does race matter? And like, what's the difference? And I don't understand, like, you know, what that means. A lot of the behaviors that like we talk about at cons, or we talk about in classes, or we talk about in kink education, a lot of the traditional things that we even see in media around age play that are positive, with people who actually wrap their head around and understand the potential for healing in that space of reparenting yourself and allowing that to extend to someone else in your relationship.
I'm like nervously itching right now because I know exactly where this is going.
I know. Well, all of the behaviors that I was taught of like, well, here are things you can explore. You can be bratty and you can act like this, or like, you know, you can explore what this feels like to you and act like this. And all of these availabilities to me were role playing children who acted like things I would never act like.
Because the privilege to act that way wasn't available to us.
The privilege was not available. I never acted like that. So then I found myself getting defensive and bitchy because like, and this is me being honest with myself. I was getting defensive and bitchy because I'm like, and not only did I not get it, like on the child level, it wasn't me just as Scout. It wasn't me as like Shakti Bliss, 31-year-old, looking at these people and being like, I don't get it. Can you explain it to me? This was me being like 14. Like this is 14-year-old Scout, which by the way, y'all might not have liked her very much. Okay. She was very cynical and very sarcastic and like funny, but it came at a cost of me. Like, that's how I worked out my depression and my angst as a teenager. But like, this was 14-year-old me being like, bitch, I've never been able to act like that. Like, and it's me literally acting like I am a peer to these people who are like regressed in age. And being like, because that's how I acted. Being 4 years old, if I saw someone else throwing a tantrum in Target, I'm like, oh, I don't act like that because
you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, like I don't act. Or like my mom would be like, see, we don't act like that. And I'm like, yeah, we don't act like that. We do. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We do not act like that up in this piece. Like that.
But I mean, that also goes back to like the same feels that I have right now of like knowing that the space that I like to occupy. That I like to occupy is somewhere between like 5 and 7, maybe 8 if I feel like grown up on a real day. But like that's around the age when I was coming home as a latchkey kid and like opening up the house. I was taking the dog out by myself when I got home. I was making my own grilled cheese sandwiches. No one tell Child Protective Services what the fuck they're gonna do. I'm fucking 30 now. Okay.
I mean, back then we all did it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I feel that like having so much responsibility at that age and then like turning around and looking at some of the ways that I watch some of the kids that I've worked with, it's just like, we didn't do that.
Yeah. And it felt a special kind. It felt a special kind of sting when it was other adults too. Cause then I felt this weird, like, well, damn, not only do you have the reference to be able to pull from, but now you get to do it again as an adult. I can't even get comfortable here once. I can't even do it one time. And like, so then I'm getting like resentful of like, this isn't for me. This is obviously not for me. This is because that's my trauma. My trauma response is, oh, you've given me a sign. This is not for me. Then I guess it's not for me. Like, bye. And then I'm so far gone. Like it's not because I'm so traumatized from assimilating that I'm like, guess who's not going to assimilate to this shit? Guess who's not going to do it? I'm not.
It's not for me.
Do it. Yeah. Guess it's not for me. Bye. And I just like, and I was trying very intently to not allow that mentality to steal this lesson from me and this medicine, and this exploration. So I just kept exploring, and I'm still exploring. If you're in the comments telling me that you agree with me and you're like wondering how I made it past this like space, like I haven't. I'm very much still in this space of figuring out what that play looks like to me, because to me there were just so many different insecurities, y'all. They all came up, like all of them. And I'm not going to go through the list, but just every fucking every little thing, everything from like, my voice doesn't sound like that. I'm not going to make my voice sound like that. I've never made my voice sound like that. I'm not going to say those things. I've never said those things. I'm not going to say those things now. Like, I'm not going to respond in these ways. I've never responded in these ways. I'm not going to start doing it now. Like, and then being in a space, and really like my push over the edge, my shove over the fucking cliff of free falling discomfort was going to an age play party and then being like, oh, I am definitely not a part of this. Like, I was just like at this age play party, like, fuck yeah, I am so not a part of this shit. And that was okay for me. It was okay for me in my rebellious nature in that night of just like being so far gone, lost, and othered that I just like, and I othered myself. Like, this was all me. This wasn't like people at this party being like mean to me or like whatever. It was literally just, this was all Scout, like othering herself as a trauma response. And it was okay for me in that moment because my way of breathing through the moment of discomfort of emergency, my way of breathing through the moment of emergency was just like, at least now I know where I stand. I don't care. Like, I can at least breathe for the next 28 minutes that I'm in this space because I at least know where I stand. And where I stand is I am not like these people. And like, I am just different. And this is how it is. And then I had to like, take the gasp of air and start to unpack what that meant. But it was just this radical revolutionary realization that like my adultification has worked against me, even in my reclamation, like even in my reclamation process of, yeah, I want to reparent my inner child. And, I do spell work for that. And I do coaching around that. And I do meditation and body work around that. And I'm very good
at therapy for that. All of it.
Yeah, and there for sure. Fuck me. Yes. Like, get your care team together. Like, I do all that stuff. But I got a robocall. I got a robocall. Okay, hold on. Wait. You're sorry. My phone is very temperamental. So I'm just like, ooh, please still work. Sorry, I got a robocall. And like, my phone has not kept any app open other than Live for more than 2 weeks. So like, I'm just glad that this is working. But yeah, it was just a shock. It was a shock to the system to realize that like the result of being a young Black girl was not just the fact that things were unavailable to me in experience back then, but that even as an adult, trying to make those things available to me now is difficult because I have no point of reference. I have no point of reference for the way that I would like to express myself in a childlike way, other than media references that are negative of Black children or that are unlike me of white children. And so it's just this very strange, like, not to mention I was a weird kid. So on top of like, and I'm okay with that, but like on top of being a weird kid, with the added layers of like being Black, and the added layers of being seen as an adult since I was like, what did they say? 4 years old. People started seeing
4 or 5. Yeah.
As not needing as much affection, not needing as much care, not needing as much support, as not needing nurturing, as knowing better, of like understanding their actions. There's more lenience,
understanding more sexual themes, all of that.
Oh yeah, they said that young Black girls by the age of 5 are seen to be more well versed in adult themes, including sexuality, which we all know is just like an open door for people to abuse us. And so it's just this like radical reality of like, as a result of all of those things, I have 0 point of reference. Like, I wouldn't wear pink bows. And it's not because I have anything against that or because it goes against like my gender identity. It's simply because like, I just didn't wear that kind of stuff anyway. And I wouldn't speak in these ways. And I don't know. The examples that I'm seeing, I haven't seen anything that defines me other than like little references that are super creepy and weird, which is why a lot of my references for like me building my own avatar, which I've been doing lately, is just like me trying to build this avatar of this character for age play for me. And as I'm doing it, like these characters who are really not children at all, but just like childlike, constantly come to mind because I was just fucking weird. And so it's just finding that alternative weird and Black example of what age play and reclamation can look like when I'm not dressing like, you know, a pageantry young white child, which is what I feel like a lot of it is for me. That's my experience. I am not trying to shit talk anyone who lives for that shit because I think it's amazing. There's a reason why I was attracted to that type of kink. There's a reason because I think it's amazing and what y'all are doing is awesome. It just doesn't resonate deeply into my bones. And I find that to be disappointing because I am really looking to reclaim that space. And I also have a partner who is amazingly willing and also amazing at cohabitating with me most of the time and taking care of me in those ways that I like. And so like emotionally, I should say. And so it's sad that it's my shit that's keeping me from getting to that space. Yeah. I know. Just
I love your honesty.
Take another one. Just take another full cleansing breath. Let's just inhale the good shit and exhale the bullshit.
Why have I never heard that?
It's like every bridal t-shirt that has ever existed. Like I'm 90% sure I saw that at a Minx and Muse, like, you know, fucking like
bachelor party. I love that.
Like, you know, it's like every Target tee that is out currently, you know, it's just.
Damn, their marketing seems half decent. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just out here. I'm out here with all the cleansing. I'm putting shit up to my third eye. I'm just out here trying to cleanse. I've been lighting this Palo Santo significantly throughout our entire conversation. Like I am just out here trying to ground my shit, y'all. But yes, I'm being honest. I don't identify with anything and I have no one to pull from. So I'm making it up as I go along.
Actually, I feel like that's a perfect segue. Exactly what I was trying to say, like next. But I just feel like we're out here. I know we are. But this goes back to these exact same points and themes of like how I've tried to live my life up until this point. And like part of it is, yes, I know that I am a Leo and that we are the best and we love to be seen, but just living out loud as loudly as possible. Because when I was growing up, I didn't see Black women that looked like me that were into tarot. I didn't see Black women that looked like me that were engaging with crystals. I just knew I liked fucking rocks. Like, you know, I didn't see Black women who were moving. I didn't really see a lot of Black women that did like African dance growing up. I had little tastes here and there, but it wasn't something that was really regular for me. So when it comes to back to age play, I don't really see a fuck ton of Black folk in particular that engage in age play. If y'all are here in this conversation, please put your things, put your links in the comments so like I can find you later. But like
also you should go to my Shakti Bliss funny page because I was recently tagged in an amazing post with a bunch of other POC littles.
I was literally about to go back and go now, but I need my phone.
You're like, oh, but I'm on live.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna do it. But just again, why like, oh my gosh, okay, Lonnie.Grove. Thank you. Hit my DM. Thank you.
Yeah, Lonnie's amazing.
But this is why I just feel like representation is so important in so many different ways. And it's like, not just for us, but for the babies that are coming back coming after us when they turn 18 and such.
For sure. That's what I'm like, we're out here and there's plenty of us. There's plenty of us in all of the kink community, especially in a lot of the POC kink communities that I'm in on Facebook. But I also either have conversations with them that are very similar in terms of wanting more conversation around fulfillment in that play. but also in developing their own style of who they want to be and what they want, and not just trying to emulate something that they've seen. So yeah, and yeah, Lonnie's definitely a really good reference for that, because they're just fucking amazing, and has a lot of POC little reference specifically. I've also just had trouble finding middle representation in general, because I feel like it's either little or nothing a lot of the time.
Interesting.
So that's something I'm interested in. I'm interested in trying to develop and sharing on that journey. This is one where you're not going to get the nice, clean, like sparkly ending from me, because there is no ending. I'm still on this journey and I'm still discovering it. But I hit months of discomfort, y'all. This was months of just me feeling incredibly fucking uncomfortable. Some of y'all who've been following me this whole time know about it, because you heard me. I spoke about it on my stories, on my Shakti Bliss Bunny, when it all first was coming to light for me. But it was just me trying to figure out, like, okay, so am I not this type of, do I not want this type of healing? Do I not want to engage in my shadow work in this way? Is this not for me, which is like my default? Or am I just at a loss because I feel like I'm role playing something that's not authentic to me? And that, in order for it to be like all the experiences that I wish to engage in, I wish to bring authenticity to the space, not meaning that like every character or anything that I role play needs to be me. But I think that, age play is very deeply personal, and anyone who pretends like it isn't is kind of lying to themselves. Like, it's shadow work. You're reparenting your inner child, and allowing other people to do so as well. And so I felt like it was really hard to want to play the game and then realize there was no court for you. Like, that's how I feel 90% of the time.
I understand that. I have a question. Do you ever find yourself feeling guilty for your middle or little behavior? I say both, because I know for me, there's times when I know that I'm going throughout my day, or I have actions or reactions with my partner, and I'm just like, is this the time for this? Should I not? I feel this way. I don't know, for like really embodying, because I feel like a lot of that goes back to a lot of those feelings that I have, and like it kind of ends up showing its way as temper tantrums. And like, I'm just like, I'm expressing how I feel, but also feeling like this is not the time because we don't do it this way.
I mean, how do I respond to this? Okay, I'll respond with the way that you asked, which was to me, no, because I don't think I allow myself to like be that open with allowing them to bubble up to the surface to where I would have to like backpedal, backtrack, or feel ashamed about it. If anything, I'm working on the exact opposite problem. Yeah, I mean, I love how Robbie is up here in these comments with these motherfucking emojis. I see you, girl. I see you. Trying
Thanks
to be
for your honesty, babe.
I know, trying to be slick and shit with these motherfucking emojis, acting all tired. I see you. I just can't. I can't with her. She's so fucking funny to me. Okay, anyway, I don't think I have that problem. I don't think I have that exact problem specifically, or feeling guilty about it. Sometimes I do think I feel guilty about wanting to express them, because I allow myself to fall into the trap of, this is really hard. You shouldn't be doing this anyway, because nobody wants to take care of you and nobody needs this shit. Nobody, or just convincing myself that like I'm just putting extra pressure on people constantly and nobody really needs that. And so I put pressure on myself in that way, but I also don't think, I mean, you're very responsible with, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those moments, but also just like knowing who you are so intimately, I think you're just very responsible with your feelings, to the point where it's like, yeah, we might not always, I think that goes in general with relationships. It's like, we might not always bring shit up at the opportune time to talk about stuff. And we might not always express ourselves in the most like, tied in a bow, collected way. But that, you're very playful, you're very genuine, and you also know when real work needs to get done. And you can also bring those attributes to the real work, By the way, can I just tell you what I chose when you were talking?
Yes.
So I often pull cards while I'm talking or someone else is talking, when I either want to know insight on what I should say or my viewpoint or whatever. And this is when I was talking earlier. I got the 2 of Wands.
Mm.
I got the 2 of Wands. Sorry, I'm showing Facebook. I got the 2 of Wands, Facebook.
Same brainwave, because literally I have my card in my hands.
Exactly. And I'm just like sitting here, like in that moment, I'm like, oh, because a big part of me was just like, maybe it's just not, maybe this is a discussion that we have where we're like figuring out when kinks aren't for you, you know, which I think is also a really good conversation. But then when I see the 2 of Wands, I just think of determination. Like that's like my one word that comes up every time. And then I'm like, stop telling me to keep doing work. I'm tired. And that's my bitchy middle side. I'm tired. But yeah, I just that's literally how I feel about that. And Kitty knows, like, that's exactly how I talk to my tarot deck too. I'm like, stop telling me things that I don't want to hear. Fuck off.
Because I literally do the same thing.
Like, it's like just talking to yourself in a mirror, like, how dare you tell me to keep working? Fuck off.
Which is so funny because I pulled the 8 of Discs the other day and it was literally the same thing. Like, just make a plan and do the thing. And I was like,
stop telling me to do things that I want to do. Stop.
But another card that
you got, yeah.
Yeah, the one that came up for me, let me see if I can do them both at one time. No. Okay, so here for Facebook first, and then for the Instagrams, I got the Lovers, and this card popped up last week. It popped up this week.
It won't go away.
It literally, like, it was topic of conversation in my class yesterday. Like, it's that whole like art and craft of relationship. And like I wrote down a couple of points that I did want to share, was just like the fact that there are these 2 children on the card on the bottom is just like highlighting the fact that there's this like innocent, like childlike curiosity and playfulness that you should have in relationships. And I feel like, yes, Puffin. So like there is this like childlike way that you need to have in relationships that I think just allows you to show up authentically, at least for me. And I feel like if I didn't have that in my relationships, in any of them, in intimate, platonic, whatever, that I would have a really difficult time. So I don't know. Just so much love-hate relationship with this card, but also the hermit in the background because I want to run away and be like totally introspective.
That's so valid. I mean, that's so valid. That's how all of my shit has been during COVID. Is like my first card pulled during COVID. My month card was the hermit, obviously, and then now it's shifting into like the chariot. But the Lovers has come up in every fucking draw, like every draw. Like my draws for my clients, my draws for me, my draws for the circle facilitating, my classes. Like the Lovers won't go away. And I feel like I've also been having this conversation with so many different people about so many different things, and I think it definitely applies to kink, is that like this is really a time to evaluate expectation, and to realize that any of the unhappiness that you have with your partners, I hate to say, is as a result of your expectation. When we want so badly to be like, fuck this person and they're not doing the things that I want. Like, it's usually like, oh, because you have an expectation of what you want them to do, they're not meeting it. So you can tell us all day long about how this person is the problem, but really, like, you would be in an okay relationship if your expectations were different. And it doesn't mean that you have to change your expectations. It just means like asking yourselves, like, am I willing to change my expectations for this person? Am I willing to pay the price of admission of knowing that they might not always be the person that I want them to be? But also in remembering that when all the Lovers keeps coming up, people always, I know you're turning away from me because you're like, stop it. Stop telling me things that I already know. But I also feel like when we draw the card, the Lovers, we're forgetting that our first relationship is with ourselves. And so that it's really about like releasing that judgment. Yeah, I know. You're like, stop. But I literally had this conversation 4 hours ago with someone completely different. And I had it yesterday with someone else completely different. I had it with myself. Like, you know what I mean? It's just all these expectations of like that we have around all these people. You're so disappointed as a result of your expectation. And so when you're really diving into looking at your relationships, it's about asking like, how can I improve my own perspective and my own lens in which I see these people to make this a better process? But also if it is you know, if I'm unwilling to make these changes, then maybe these partnerships aren't for me right now. So yeah, I just feel like it's a lot of adjusting the expectation of what you expect the other person to do. And also asking yourself that classic question of, if things were to never change with yourself, with this other person, with this relationship, if things were to be the way that they are right now for the foreseeable future, are you okay with that? And answering that question accordingly and acting accordingly. But I do think that when the lovers keeps popping up, everybody likes to, one, stress their romantic relationships. And it's really just about all relationships, including with yourself. And it's really about facing that shit, which for me apparently is, you know, about age play. Oh, wait, there are things that I'm missing. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything from y'all. I see that, I see Aaliyah asked, any advice on how to build your avatar if you don't remember what you were like as a child? Yes, in my opinion, it's building it to who you want to be or who you perceive yourself as, because I, for one, have zero memories from the ages of like 5 to like probably 11 or 12. I don't remember anything. I just don't. I don't. I think there was just too much. I think my brain hit capacity at like 17, and then it was like, we're throwing shit out. And I just
no room for that.
You know what I mean? Like that's not true, and that's not how the brain works. But like that's my theory and concept. And so I honestly don't know, but I have a perception of who I was when I was like 12 and I start remembering things. And I have a perception of who I was told I was, but also I have a perception of who I feel I was on the inside, even if I don't remember here. I know I remember here. And so that's kind of what shocked me, is that I didn't really have a vision. I didn't look at these things on packages and be like, that's not me. I tried all of these things. And then I was like, I don't resonate with this. And I feel deeply uncomfortable because it didn't resonate here. And so I would suggest things. No, was that ice? What was it?
I dropped my cake pop.
Oh, that's important. Cake's important. Recover that. Yeah.
I have it. We're good.
5 seconds. Cake is vital. But I think it's really just about really making yourself into who you want to express, because this is really just a self-expression project, right? Like age play and kink is really just a self-expression project. And so it's like, who do you want to express and how you want to express? I love that it was at Puffin. It's like, I'm over the lover's card. That's amazing. As we all are, Puffin. We are all over the lover's card. We are all over it. We're over it. And then I see very disappointed, but a lot more to it. But yes, realizing the partnership isn't for me. Yeah, and I think that it's I think the thing is that it's realizing that, you know, as someone who, for me, it's different. For me, just being like a polyamorous person, it's really just about like, did I come into this with the expectation of this partnership serving a need? And is it because that need is not getting met? Are those needs like adjustable? Are they malleable? Are they shifting and changing? How big is this person wanting to show up in my life? And I think that the biggest thing is really, am I giving more bandwidth to this person than they need to receive? And that means like, if that person, I'm not projecting I'm just honestly coming up with a concept in my brain of a relationship. But like, if this person is someone who you think would be okay, like being your Tuesday, and you're giving them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you're not feeling, you know, the same amount of effort and bandwidth in reciprocation, can that be adjusted within your bond? Or does that need to mean that like, this is non-negotiable? And I really, really heavily always talk about the price of admission, because everyone's going to have a price of admission. And honestly, like, you know, we all have a price to admission. Like, we all have the things of like, that we believe people are with us in spite of. And usually they're not what we think in our own mind. So I think it's just having those conversations.
And I just want to add in like this one, I wrote it down from my trusty dusty book that comes with my cards. Well, it doesn't come with my cards, but it said the fundamental sincerity is the only proper basis for forming relationships of any kind.
And in order to be sincere, you have to know what your fucking intention is. You have to know what your fucking intention is. Ooh.
Yeah.
So like,
no, I feel the funny thing is like my life card is the Hermit. So I see this and I'm just like, I want to run away. It's like, I want to just, Cat says hi.
I was like, hey, girl.
The internet says hi.
I know. Everyone on the internet says hi. I definitely, I feel like that also goes into your intention with, and just going back to like our topic of age play, I also think that a lot of that is roped in, which by the way, Puffin, I saw your message. Being ghosted is bullshit. And fuck the audacity to ghost people. Like when you're
conversation.
I know, it's like be a grown up. But like I'm
out here being a grown up. Why can't you be a grown up?
Like be a grown up. But yeah, I feel like it also goes into expressing intent, which is what I don't see a lot. And I wish I would see more of, specifically in kink, around like, what are you looking for? But just people really recognizing that they're doing shadow work, and then upon that recognition, being honest with themselves and their partners about what they expect. And so instead of it just being this ongoing, dynamic that you feel like you're constantly getting disappointed in, or one partner is feeling incredibly overwhelmed, or what have you, it being an ongoing conversation of like, this is what I'm looking to explore today, this is how I'm feeling today, this is the space that I feel like I really need to be held today, and this is it's just being in contact with those desires in yourself, and then being able to communicate that when you're engaging in this type of play with people. And I think that a lot of that is I'm not putting this labor on the community, because I don't think that's right. But I think a lot of the lack of intention also goes forth to amplifying people's inability of understanding age play. I don't think that all of that weight goes on the community, but I do think that like a part of that goes into people's dysfunction in understanding what this is for. And the fact that this topic was brought up in a vanilla space, and that there are so many questions, like people who are just well-intentioned questions of people not understanding the air of pedophilia around age play, and why people believe that shit's related, and understanding that, not all age play is sexual, and that really that it really just provides an open clearing for the availability for healing to happen. But wherever there's a clearing, anything can develop there. So that's why I'm always like very careful with how I like to facilitate and speak and guide people in the realm of, there is a clearing here. Make sure that it's not breeding more trauma, and make sure that it's not trauma bonding to this person that you're engaging in these dynamics with, and that you're not then taking that nice, clear, beautiful, open space of possibility and pouring more shit in there, and creating a landfill, that you're actually like cultivating something that you would like to look like in terms of growth, in that cleared space.
It's interesting, because even like before, I just like to go back to the beginning of that, like I had a conversation with my little brother before I hopped on with you, and it had a funny segue of like VPNs, which like everybody should have one, and him like being able to like, yes, like him being able to like watch Japanese anime now with like Japanese Netflix. And I mentioned, how it was so great to have it when Italy had their free Pornhub. I'm just saying it's great. Yeah. But when I told him I was doing this, there kind of got quiet on the line, and like felt like I really had to explain the fact that age play isn't always sexual. It can be, and there's nothing fucking wrong with that, but like it doesn't always have to be sexual.
Yeah.
And like, well, that's where a lot of my play has been, is that it hasn't been, but it doesn't mean that it has been any less impactful, and that it's not also a space that has made space for me to see myself in a different light, see how I interact with other people in different ways, act out through acting like a child, grow up. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I think it's also just like, it's in all this Chiron energy that you and I have been talking about for the last like couple of weeks, of this like intense motherfucking this retrograde.
I feel it.
It's so rough. It's rough out here, y'all. I am parched. Like, I feel like I am on mile 19 of a like 1,000-mile marathon, and I'm like,
you're on 19? You're so far ahead.
I'm like, yo, this energy is fierce. And for those of you who may not like pay attention to the astrological weather, Something that I have been talking about continually in multiple spaces is the fact that you know, we don't even have to get too deep into it, but I will just say that we are in a retrograde, and from pretty much now until the end of the year, in which we will be digging up the garden of a lot of our family, ancestral, and attachment trauma. So that can be, you know, trauma with a big T or little t, and it can be associations and attachments that have to deal with your caregivers, how you were raised as a child, and understanding that all of, I think Jasmine, was it Jasmine that said it in this way? She said it in a unique way that that I actually liked this week, of saying something about if you don't repair these relationships, repair meaning in your own self, not meaning you have to talk to your family or, you know, talk to toxic people, but if you don't repair these spaces in your relationship, you're going to play out this relationship with every person that gets close to you. And I believe that that is absolutely true. And so it might really exemplify and show itself as a weird, it might show itself as like, you know, I'm getting in fights with my partner a lot, or things are coming up and I'm having fights with my roommate a lot. But really it's like, ooh, how is that pulling back to you and your caregivers? I know you're seeing Robbie's name. You're like, what emoji did you put down there? Huh,
what are you saying?
I fucking love it. I think y'all are hilarious. But it's also just like realizing, like, how does that play out in your attachment theory with your caregivers, and like how have you played that out with every partner that you've also like brought close to you in the last couple of years, and just really having that lens and that scope of like, maybe it's not the other person, it's you, and not that you are the problem, but like maybe you're the solution. So,
it's
like,
Leo season. It's not me.
Leo motherfucking season.
It's not me until Virgo season.
It's my job. It's now my job to tell all of you that we have 38 seconds left here and we're moving to Facebook. So I'm keeping my strict rule of this will be up on Facebook, or up on IGTV. However, if you want to listen to the last bit of Kitty and I closing out, I'm also going to do a little bit of a breathing exercise to close out. Go to Ripwitch Facebook. If you're on Instagram, go to my links in my bio and click on the link. I made it a very easy link for you to get there. Go watch on Facebook. Comment.
It's gone, but it's okay. You did the thing. Man, okay. Instagram don't play no games.
Abruptly, and you know, my phone is acting very, very questionable. So I had to make sure that the video actually made it onto IGTV and was saved. So I'm like trying to make sure that that's happening in the background here as I'm like yelling at everyone to go over to Facebook.
No worries. No worries.
But I do agree with you. I like how you said you brought it up with your brother and you said it was like kind of quiet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did you break it down to him?
Say that one more time. I missed the end of your question.
How did you break it down to him?
Pretty much with a lot of the things that I've said here already, of just that, you know, I noticed a lot of behaviors that would come out in me that it was really easy for me to point to and say, okay, well, this is me having a temper tantrum, or like, you know, huffing and puffing, or like just not talking to people because I'm mad or running away. And like really sitting with myself and saying, okay, well, these are behaviors that I can see that happens in my kids when I'm working with them. And like my like favorite age is like 5 to like 7 to teach as well. But, you know, noticing that like that's where the behavior like developmentally was stuck. And like that there was a lot of shift and trauma that happened there as a child. And then just noticing how coming back and just being gentle with myself through it and engaging in it in a way that's really sweet and has been really playful. And where it's not something where that behavior was when I was as a child, I would have been chastised for it. And again, like that's where I think my question around the guilt was, because I've noticed that in times earlier, as I was figuring out that this is where I was, I would feel hesitant or guilty, or maybe even a little bit of shame around reacting in certain ways, because that wasn't what was acceptable as a child. So like coming back and finding new ways to look at it, new ways to look at myself, and really kind of reframing it as this, like, I don't know, I think I had to reframe it for him, which then I also like question for myself if that's even allowing the space for the kink aspect as well. If that's removing that from the conversation, and that's, I feel like, also isn't
Is
fair.
the kink aspect for you like the sexual aspect, or do you think that like the kink aspect for you is actually getting to like fully embody this type of like playful energy?
I feel like the kink aspect of it is just like fully being able to not feel bad about it and to just like be. God damn it. I think that's also something that I feel like is important, is like, just because you are not engaging in any like dark age play doesn't mean you're not, that's like erasing your kink identity.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that conception for sure. And I definitely think that, like, for me, I think that my guilt is no better. It's different. It's no better in terms of it still coming from the attachment and the damage of the adultification of being a child, and just feeling like there is no freedom from that structure. And I have always been known as like a free-spirited type of, like, you know, rebellious, very even though I'm a Virgo, like I've kind of have always been known as that in my family unit. Like, I'm like the artist, I'm the one who does things differently, I'm the one who's tattooed, like I'm the one who, you know, does like all the witchy shit. And so I'm just like the fucking weirdo all the time. And so I think that for me in my brain, I keep thinking like, no, I'm still very open-minded and free-spirited. But the reality that I'm coming to terms with unpacking all of this is that no, my family really did like brainwash a lot of my whimsy and carefree childlike nature out of me, like very, very early. And when I see people, even in my adult life, who get to take advantage of that, it makes me very, very, very eager to like get to also do that and find ways for me to also do that. That's also what attracted me always to like the burner community, is like, to me, I was like, oh, y'all just y'all care about shit. Like, and what I mean by that is like, there's no structure. There's no, like, there's accountability, but there's no structure. And that I would always look at, like, I mean, most of the burners that I grew up around, and most of the burners I still know, are white. So I just grew up looking at all these white people, and I'm just like, it is, your carefree nature is enthralling to me. Like, I am hypnotized by your ability to not give a shit. Like, I am hypnotized in awe of your ability to just like free winging it out here. Like, oh, I'm just gonna travel to this city and not know like how it's gonna, like, you know, just like free balling it out here in this world. And I'm like, I am envious of that thought process, because I would never feel that carefree ever. And part of me, yes, I do believe that part of me is because, you know, I'm a Black woman in America and all of these things. Like, I am oppressed. We all know this, like, whatever. But the other part of it,
just pick up and go and all of that jazz. Keep going.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we all know, yes, I've been here for 31 years, nothing new. However, in this other space, I'm also just not allowing myself to get there, because there are plenty of opportunities, especially the way that I've built my life intentionally in the last like 7 years. There are a lot of ways in which I am more free than a lot of people. And that was built with intention within my lifestyle. And I still don't take advantage of it a lot. Like, I don't take advantage of actually being as free as I am. Because I'm so worried about the structure. I'm so worried about just stuff all the time. And I started doing that very, very young. And so a part of me finds the guilt more in just the fact that, like, I never really allow myself to be that playful. Or I have to carve out intentional time. Like, I finally gotten to the point in 31 years where it's like, if I know that I'm going on a weekend and I'm not taking my work computer, and that I've already, like, you know, prepared myself to where no one's expecting to hear from me, and I've like carved out intentional time in which I don't have to give a fuck, like, I can now let go within that container. Like, that is a place I graduated to, but that is still very new for me in that space.
I second that. But I do also agree that it has been something that was very eye-opening for me. Because, you know, like, my first burner experience was Burning Man last year. Like, I had no idea that this culture even existed, really, before moving to Austin.
Which is crazy. Yeah, I know.
Like, I'd never been to any regional burns or anything. But it really was interesting to see like the scale of the carefree nature. But also to like, again, like marvel at the privilege that people get to have in these spaces, because to be able to pick up and just be, first of all, to just like take a full like 10-day vacation. Because since I've moved to Austin, began working for myself, like taking a full 10 days vacation is like a
I
dream.
remember when you took it. I remember when you took it, and I was like, "Ooh, girl, you're leaving for 10 days." That was like a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being like it really ended up being like 2 weeks, because I had to spend the 2 days to get. So then just like, just financially, just being like, okay, well, I'm not going to work for 2 weeks. But again, I think coming back to that whole point of just having the privilege to let go and having that like sense of safety to let go. Because I do feel like for me, a lot of these like behaviors of acting out always ended up coming back to a conversation of safety for me. A safety that I just wasn't afforded just as a little Black girl. Like, you didn't act out because for us, we get the police called. We don't get a call to parents, you know? So it's been interesting to look at and dissect that realization that there is this culture that exists that allows for so much freedom, and also the juxtaposition of the freedoms that are experienced by people that look like me, whether or not kinky or not. So,
yeah, I died. I had to write that down. Acting out. You said acting out always comes back to like a place of safety.
mm-hmm.
It always like returns back to a place of safety, and I think that's because I think that also I think there are two sides to acting out. There's one side that is the privilege of acting out, and then there's the other side of just getting to the point where you don't give a fuck anymore, so you're just going to act out. And I think that's a very interesting concept to unpack as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah, I'm adding that.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like the switch to not giving a fuck and I'm just acting out just happened within the past 6 months, which is always, it's just funny enough that lined up. I would say the last 6 months to where it's like, I don't give a fuck, but also like now it's productive. Like, it shows up in my relationships in a way that there's like there's a feedback system that's like enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah, it's not. It's making use out of your rebellion, which I feel like I've also done in the last couple of years. It's like I'm no longer rebellious just to be rebellious, like I was when I was like below the age of 16. Mm-hmm. That I'm like rebellious with a cause that now has like turned into a space of being popular. So like I'm somehow kind of accepted by society because people are like, oh, she's cool, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, because like definitely expected to be shit on like I was in other parts of my life. But you know, it's great that it's cool now to like be rebellious and be fuck the system and burn it down and be. I think the Aquarian age needs that. Like the Aquarian age needs an entire generation of people who are like, oh, this is just how we act. Like, yes, that's exactly what we need. And so yeah, I definitely feel like it's making that sense of rebellion productive for you, and not caring. And that's, I need to get to that not caring place. Like I can't even tell you how badly I need to get there. Like, I think that's why this diving into this age play dissection is really a part of medicine for right now, especially during this age. I just feel like there's a lot of medicine to be had, a lot of potent experience to be drawn out of this space of feeling like we were talking about astrologically when we had to get off live, of being faced with a lot of our old parental attachment shit, and just like unpacking my understanding of myself in that way, but also just being able to dive into not giving a shit, because I am so tired of giving so much of a shit. I need to slow my give a shit down a little bit.
I understand that. I feel that. I will. and this is like totally randomly just popped into my head, but totally mentioned that before, that you really feel like you identify with more of like a middle personality that's more like Harley Quinn, which I think is so funny for you feeling like you're trying to get to this place of not giving a fuck when like that whole character is just
but
like.
People have to understand that you have to understand how Harley Quinn started, and this is literally what
That's true.
like,
she's my favorite villain.
I know. I'm like, people have to understand how this bitch started, because this is why I identify with her on a deep level. Like, she was a fucking like, she was a structured academic. Like, she gave a lot of fucks to be able to get through her schooling and to have her job and do her thing. And then one day she decided to just not give a fuck anymore. And I'm waiting for that moment. I'm waiting for the day that I'm willing to set the place on fucking fire, because that's when I think my power will really unlock. Like, I'm really gratified that people in this life think that I'm very powerful right now, but I feel like I'm not so much. Like, when I like speak to like my ancestors and when I tap into my grandmother, like, I am very much at the very, very slow peak of like how powerful I feel I can actually be for myself and other people. Exactly. You know exactly.
This like, just like fell out of my deck too.
I'm sure life is like, hey, this is what she's talking about. So let me just go ahead and throw that out of that top deck. But I feel like my power is really going to come out of the vulnerability of allowing myself to not care, and allowing the people who don't like that side of me of not caring to like slip away if they need to. But allowing the people to stick around who know how immensely hard, because my worry always is that people will never know how hard I work. My worry always is that people will never know how much I care. My worry always is that I will leave and there will be nothing changed. I will not have made this place better than how I came to it, you know? And so I feel like right now when people are around me, they're like, oh, but everybody knows how hard, everybody knows, you know what I mean? But I'm always like, yeah, that's because I'm busting my ass right now. That's because I'm like running at like 18 miles an hour. People see it. So like I'm sweating, so they see it. You know what I mean? Like, but I just like, I'm always worried that that's important to me. And I don't know why it's important to me, because I don't give a shit. Like, I don't really care how hard people think I work. I know I work hard. But that matters. That is something that matters to me. Like, the perception that I don't like, just this blase, like, don't give a fuck attitude. Like, I don't think that's cute, but like, I need to not care about things that I care way too much about. And I need to not care enough to allow myself to be liberated to a space where I think that when I allow myself to slip into my real rhythm and flow, that's not dictated by patriarchy, that's not dictated by capitalism, that's not dictated by money, that's not dictated by other people's time, that's not dictated by me starting these businesses. When I allow myself to slip into my own method of flow, that real power is going to come out. And I'm like waiting for that day, but really I'm waiting for myself, because I can make that day whenever I want, but I'm waiting for like the time. And I'm also waiting to figure out how the fuck to not care. So I'm waiting to build on these skill sets.
I understand. I leave you this, because like, yay for books. When you pull this time, it's a reminder in the next year, it will be very difficult to edit, rehearse, or hold back any parts of who you are. During the fire sign months of Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, or with fire sign people, it's important that you stay in your truth and your authenticity. So this symbol represents an unwillingness to abandon yourself and an unwillingness to edit, rehearse, hold back your basic nature. Intuition that is completely honored and trusted.
Yes, bitch. Self-trust.
Yeah.
Self-trust. You're like,
I wish that all for you.
It'll happen. I mean, it's happening already, but I do enjoy like being able to unpack in these spaces and these forums, and I like unpacking with you. I feel like we have led each other to so many different revelations, like life revelations of like, oh, this makes sense. Or I feel like we've been in each other's lives long enough to where we're like, remember 4 years ago when we were trying really hard for this one thing, and now we have it, and we're like, what the fuck were we thinking? So yeah, I just feel like it's been so nice being able to navigate life with you in that way, and to just like appreciate you to all ends of the earth of being like such a like profound friend and just like life partner in this crazy ass time, and business partner and all the things. Like, I just am super, super, super grateful for all of our revelation, all of our teaching, and all of our tandem back and forth, and all of the different variations in which we relate to one another and constantly like riff on our journey.
Oh my gosh.
I'm also putting the Kevin.life message. Oh,
Yes.
thank you for receiving it, because I love you, and that's all for you.
You know, I don't do that usually. This Leo, I feel this Leo time.
Apparently, it came in hard for y'all. It drove right on through, honked the horn, and picked all y'all up because y'all are in it. And y'all didn't warn a bitch. Like, I mean, that's not fair. Y'all warned a bitch, but I just forgot. Like, I forgot that it was happening today. I forgot. I was like, oh,
did you miss my story that went out like before? I was like, it's time. It's time.
Cool. You and Sage both. And then Kevin's like slightly like creeps in and is like, hey, like, and he doesn't even really do it for his birthday, but he's just kind of like feels himself all of a sudden, to where I'm just like, I love it. I love when he's like feeling himself, because he's not like, if anyone who's watching this even knows Kevin, he is not like a cocky human being in any of the, like, he could never
not at all
way, but like, it's funny because he's not. So when he's in that space of like feeling himself, I'm like, oh my God, like I can just see it from like across. I'm like, what's happening? Like, why are you just staring at yourself in the mirror? Did you catch yourself in the reflection as you were passing by? Like, just straight up Leo energy. And I'm just like, okay, you know, but also he's divine. So I'm like, feel it yourself all the way. But I just love this Leo energy. We all need it. We all need it. Y'all are serving the world right now. Y'all are serving it up on a platter. We all need it. We all need to be feeling ourselves with that Leo energy.
Yes. Yes. So feeling yourself tonight.
Feeling yourself.
In the literal and figurative way.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the homework. Feel yourself. Homework is feel yourself. So as we send off tonight, I will say, yes, homework, conscious Coven homework is to touch yourself, because yes. And that can look however you want it to. And also, just a little tidbit for those of you who stuck around and you might want to tell your friends, Kitty and I are cooking up something very special for the Conscious Coven community, which I think that a lot of you kinksters would be interested in, a lot of you spiritualists would be interested in, a lot of you just straight up damn witchy folk would be interested in. So keep your eyes peeled, and if you're interested to stay in touch, go to consciouscoven.life on Instagram, follow us. You can go to our website and throw in your email as well. You will get a notification too. But we are planning to launch a really amazing, robust, and lengthy Tarot 101 course. So, and I'm throwing us under the bus by saying that and announcing it out loud, because we're doing it, and this also holds us accountable. So we have been trying to brainstorm, and when I'm trying to brainstorm, I mean, we just have way too many ideas. So we're trying to like condense it down into things that are digestible for you. We have been planning Tarot 101 for like over a year. So it's now time for us to make it into bite-sized chunks that people can understand. And we are going to be offering that. So if you are someone who has a tarot practice, you're curious about tarot history, you're curious about how to read cards, you're curious about diving into more of your intuitive journey, or just curious about learning different ways to read your cards or get acquainted with your deck in a ritualistic way, this Tarot 101 is going to be for you. If you are also someone who has never touched a tarot deck in your life, but you're like, these cards seem really fucking cool and everybody's talking about them and I want to order a deck and I don't know what to do with it, this is also the course for you. So keep your eyes peeled for Tarot 101, especially in these first couple of installments. They're going to be really nice because they're going to have a lot of personal attention included from Kitty and I, which is super, super valuable in that way of learning tarot and forming your own ritualistic practice. So tell your friends, keep your eyes peeled. And with that, I said we were going to do like a meditation or breathing thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to lead us in this space? Do you want to let your cards lead us and take us through a closing?
I'm just going to leave us with the star fell out, and the Princess of Wands, which was like one of my all-time favorites.
Princess of Wands. I want to be the Princess of Wands. I want to be the Princess of Wands.
I was like, this is so, God, again, like very fiery as like wands are, but I just love this woman because she's dancing naked and has like put all of her fears on an altar to be burned as this offering, and she's dragging behind her the slayed tiger, so she's got no worries, and just deep inhale and a nice full belly breath, letting it out. That is what I wish for everyone.
That board. Okay, hold on. I gotta keep it in my brain. I'm keeping that imagery. I'm holding on to it and I'm painting my picture. But this is also you said it was the Princess of Wands card. I have that deck, so I need to look at it. Yes, she has goals. She is definitely goals, Aaliyah. Princess of Wands is goals. But also like, fuck, yes, with that imagery. Because that's how I imagine her walking, by the way. That's that's how I imagine the Princess of Wands walking. Is just very much like stomping into the place with this motherfucking huge ass. I just love it like this. And I love that she's to me, that's also like the fact that she's carrying or like she's bringing along. It also reminds me of that theory of like taking your memories, your trauma, burying that horse, like taking that, just throwing it over your shoulder. But I love that her fears are being burned at the altar. I love fears are becoming the smoke that is emitted from the flame that lights her way. And I think that's really powerful in and of itself. I think it's super, super powerful just to understand that your fears are not only useful in the way that they can be burned off and used to emit light, but that they deserve to be on the altar and put up to rest.
I'm sorry. I know it's time for us to go. If y'all want to talk tarot with us, like literally just keep an eye out, because like this is all of the stuff's here. Of course, now the card that I'm looking for is of course going to be at the very top of the deck. I'm going to laugh so hard if it was literally the card I was looking for was literally right under. These two are traveling in pairs. And I noticed it the other day, and they are like sticking right next to each other. But I wanted to point out, because you mentioned like kind of strapping your fears on. The Queen of Discs has her, there we go, has her little cheetah dude next to her.
Cheetah dude.
And it started, I believe the story is that, it starts out more like a lion, all in, these tans and browns and golden fur. And then as she's walking through her journey, it turns completely black into a panther. And then when she makes it to sit on her throne, which like, yes, I'm like totally yes with all of the very phoenixy year that it has been, and me just like getting into like my panther nature. But then she gets to her throne in her place of glory, and instead of staying, the panther begins to turn back its color into this radiant gold, and she like calls for it to keep its spots as a reminder of the hardships that she went through, but to still have this glory and shining. So I really appreciated that. As you said, you have this feeling like you have to like strap it on and carry, but you can let it go. You can let go of the hardships, send it off on the altar, and you can just like look back on your spots and still have that beautiful radiance. So
that's you just used tarot to explain Chiron retrograde, because that's literally all it is like you're about to or to also explain the African spirituality reference of Sankofa, which we talked about in the Soulful Self-Care Sunday in the BIPOC spirituality group, of like the go back and get it. This is the time when you're going back. It's taking you back to all those memories. It's taking you back to all those traumas, and it's not always
back to the roots.
But you're going back to dig up that motherfucking garden and go get it. Go get the gifts, go get the medicine, go get the potency, go get the yumminess. That's like all of the lessons that you can take on into the future, because you need it. And like that's the chariot that's going to take you and drive you on. And so I really like that imagery of like it also being like your fears lying on the altar and becoming the flames that then emit the light for your path. I love that. I think it's amazing, because those fears, they're there for a reason. They're not all like subconscious and crazy. Like they're there for a reason. That fears are there to keep us safe. Like they're a conscious part of our mind, but they also have a place and they have an action, and their action is usually to help fuel and light the way and not stunt you and keep you in a place of scarcity. So with that, I'm going to say peace, ashe, and so it is, Satnam, all of the things, all of the kisses, all of the love, all of the hearts. And so I hope that you take care of yourself. Aaliyah, I see that you're going home. Please take care of yourself. Reach out to us, especially in that group if you need our support, because that shit's going to be real, and just expect it. Expect the emotions to be real, and come correct and accordingly.
But also take what you need for your own self-care too, and be unapologetic about it.
That's the Jaguar. That's the Jaguar. Yes, coming full circle. Sorry, that's the Jaguar. Is seek your nourishment without apology. Seek your nourishment without apology, as the shamans would say. So seek that nourishment, Aaliyah, if that's time away from everyone, if that's more water, if that's time to yourself, if that's time to remind yourself of your adult life that you have outside of this home space, because when you get around your family, we all tend to fall into those old dynamics. Take that for yourself. Take that for sure. And everyone else, I hope you have a great rest of your week. We will be back. Conscious Kevin will be back all the time. So go to our Instagram if you want to see more of us. And I'm sure Kitty will be back on Tension with Intention. We always had the longest one. This was like an hour and a half. I love you. And we barely even scraped the surface of all the things that we wanted to talk about. So there's definitely going to be more to come. For sure.
There will be a part 2.
Will always be, yes. And this will also be up on YouTube within like an hour and a half. Thank you so much, all of you Kinksters, for coming out on the kink front. Just to let you know, the DFW Femme Weekend is coming up this upcoming weekend, which is going to be all femme presenters, with a significant amount of femme presenters being people of color. I will be presenting with my partner Sage. We'll be teaching like around 8 different rope classes and panels and things this weekend. So pop in if you haven't already. Go to Madam Posh's Instagram, or you can go to I think it's under the Bank DFW. So find out all of the details, slide into my DMs if you can't find it and you're wanting to attend this rope and kink virtual conference this weekend. So bye guys. See you soon. Love y'all. Thank you for being here and sharing space and community. Bye.